Hi, I'm Doug Black. I'm editor-in-chief of Inside HPC. We are at Virtual SC20, and today we're talking with Philipp Reusch of the Fraunhofer Institute of Industrial Mathematics in Germany. Welcome, Philipp.
Hi, Doug.
Hi. So I understand you'll be talking about Carme, and Carme is software named for a cluster of moons around Jupiter, which, as I understand it, gets at a key benefit or idea behind Carme, which is enabling groups of users to work interactively on big data and AI problems. Do I have that right?
Yes, that's right, Doug. So basically, Carme is a software suite you can use to turn your on-premise HPC cluster into a fully fledged artificial intelligence suite. So as we're knowing from our experience with AI development at our institute, the Fraunhofer ITWM, our researchers are mainly focusing on using Jupyter Lab or Jupyter notebooks on their laptop or their workstation to work on their artificial intelligence algorithms. So basically, as we're knowing it also from famous social networks in the artificial intelligence community like Kaggle, where you can do challenges, they're all using Jupyter notebooks simply because, well, you're able to write single code parts and directly see under the code part the output of the code you were writing to visualize your data, your output, and your input. And it's very convenient in the AI community overall. So what we are looking for and aiming with the Carme research project was to find a way to run Jupyter Lab or the Jupyter notebooks or bring the Jupyter Lab interface to an HPC cluster. And we have not found a solution yet that fits our needs. So Carme started as a research project to, as you said, enable groups of users to interactively use Jupyter Lab and the Jupyter notebooks on an HPC system. And so Carme was a great name because, as you said, it's a cluster of moons around Jupiter. And so it fits what we are doing and aiming for with Carme.
Okay. So tell us about some of the practical problems or the specific use cases that Carme users go after using the software.
Yes. So with Carme, we see four basic key problems when you're doing AI development. So on the one hand, AI development requires a huge compute power. So it's on the one hand, most of the time, you're required to use multiple compute nodes and do a distributed training just because you need this compute power and because the models can have so much parameters and be so big that you need this compute power to solve the AI problem behind it. And apart from that, you're also required to use special processing units like, for example, graphical processing cards or specialized AI processors. That's one key problem. On the other hand, this also results in huge hardware costs. So traditionally, it's you as an AI developer, you're required to access this compute power, and normally you have a really big workstation under your desk with a strong processor with multiple graphical processing cards to solve these problems. And yeah, this results in huge hardware costs, and also the administration of this decentralized workstations comes into play. Apart from that, we're seeing a big multi-user management problem. So when you imagine you're an AI developer, you're not only working on the algorithms, but you have to collaborate on the data sets you're using, on the parameter sets you're using. You have to share the trained models, and you also have to share the results of single experiments you're doing, and you have to share these with your other colleagues to work as a group on a specific AI problem. And on the fourth hand, we have we're seeing a lack of knowledge. So an AI developer is very good and strong at AI development and on the algorithmic side, but we're seeing that because the AI industry is so big and there's so much publications and you have to focus on so many new topics in the AI field, you're not able to then also know everything about high performance computing and how to utilize the HPC hardware and to understand of the concepts behind it. So Carme is basically then having four key benefits. On the one hand, we're utilizing HPC technology. So on the one hand, the hardware, but also the software of an HPC system to enable you to access this huge compute power you require to solve your AI problems. then we're providing what we call resource sharing. So with Carme, you're able, via the batch system in an HPC cluster, to dynamically access the resources you're requiring for your AI project. This highly reduces the hardware costs overall you require, and you have a centralized system where you can have an administrator for, so it reduces the costs for hardware, but also for the administration side. Then we're focusing on the multi-user management by providing an integrated multi-user web interface, which cares for the data sets, for the collaboration parts, the sharing of the models, etc. And in the end, the lack of knowledge we're solving by providing simplification. So as an AI developer, when you're using Carme, we have multiple abstraction layers, which enables you to totally focus on the development on your algorithms, and you have not to care on what are the HPC concepts behind it or how to use an HPC cluster, because it's fully automatically handled by Carme via a simplified web interface. So you can focus on your AI algorithms and not have to care about the rest and where to get the compute power from.
Okay, yeah, and I understand also it's open source, which also has some benefits to it too. Now, looking ahead to Carme's future development and the strategy driving that, what can we look for from Carme next year and maybe in the ensuing years?
Yes, so short history, we started Carme in 2018, and as you said, it's open source, so it's available via GitHub. We had our first release in the mid of 2019, and at the moment we are in a further beta state, or yes, of the software. And so the main focus at the moment is to provide our first big stable release. We're aiming for at the beginning of next year. And well, some big new changes we are at the moment developing is, on the one hand, we want to support multiple HPC systems. At the moment, we are supporting preliminary Slurm as our batch system, which is at the core of Carme, but we're aiming for extending this to other batch systems as well. And well, we are vendor independent by allowing you to use different batch systems at the core of your HPC system. This is one big part, and the other side is that we want to introduce also a new version of our web interface where we allow you to do a project-focused view on all of this. So at the moment, the Carme web interface is a lot more job-centric, and we want to provide a new interface which allows you to have an AI project and to integrate all of the parts of the multi-user management into this project view, which then hopefully simplifies even more the process of working on your AI algorithms.
Yes. Right. Okay, great. So, well, best of luck with Carme, Philipp. Thanks so much for spending some time with us today.
Thank you very much, Doug. Have a nice day.
Thank you.